Hello, everybody. We're in Midland, Texas. This is going to be an interesting video today, and what I want to talk about is censorship. And one thing that's become really clear to me that the greatest strength of these criminals that are rigging private homes and killing one homeowner after another. They're the ones that are murdering the little girls that won't prostitute and all the other crimes. They're faking x-rays and dismembering crime victims and just, breaking into homes all over the country. Their greatest asset is the control of the press. Because if the public ever saw the facts and the evidence, then heads would roll. This would be over. I mean, it would not be allowed if the public could see the truth. And as been shown lately, it's not just your MSN, your mainstream news companies that are doing your censorship and the extreme biased reporting, but also big tech, Facebook, Twitter. And I don't have a Twitter account, but I want to show you here just within the last 24 hours. I'm always fighting censorship. What's happened to me just with Facebook, and so I've got several different stories here. If you watch this whole video, you're gonna find this real interesting. The first one here is something I just posted. I mean, just within the last hour. It says, with the censorship going on, I can see Facebook going the way of MySpace. It goes from being the king to the forgotten one. Next. And I remember being on MySpace and now it's forgotten. I mean, it was like overnight a switch got clicked. At one time I think they could have sold that company for $500 million and they didn't do it. And now it's probably hardly worth anything. They really should have sold it. And this was all before YouTube, Facebook got so big. But what I want to show you is I made a point here and I said, it's selective censorship too. This is a picture of my foot from 2 weeks after I was ambushed and shot. It's graphic, but it's also 2 weeks of healing. It gets covered up every time I post it, yet I see many other graphic pictures that are recent and they're allowed. And that's on Facebook. Interestingly, I got to the hospital with 2 small holes in my foot and I left with x-rays faked, this lies spread saying that I shot myself, and this giant hole cut in the side to make it look like I had been shot with a shotgun when that isn't what happened. This was on purpose, and that is the real reason they don't want the public to see it. So I posted this picture knowing in advance that they were going to cover it up. See how they blurred it out, sensitive content. This photo may show violent or graphic content. See photo. You have to click the button if you want to see it. And I posted it many times, and I knew that they were going to cover it up. But what I also noticed is, this is a 2-week, old photo, and I see people minutes after a shooting, wreck, whatever, extreme graphic, and it's not blocked. But my pictures are selectively censored, so because it was an intentional maim and mutilation, is what I believe. And so, you click see photo, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and then and I'm going to go ahead and enlarge it, and I'm going to here see photo. And there you go. You can see it. You can literally look down inside my foot right there. See the tendons and everything. This was done on purpose. Now, like I said, absolute undeniable proof shows that they faked my x-rays. They took the x-rays of another guy, I believe was shot 11 days before me, and they put my name on them. And the reason they did, because he was shot with a shotgun when I wasn't shot with a shotgun. And then he was missing his heel bone, so they cut my heel bone off. And then they cut this giant hole in the side to make it look like I had been shot with a shotgun when I wasn't shot with the shotgun. This picture was 17 days after I had been ambushed and shot during this home invasion. And of course, them secret police got caught on camera covering up this murder attempt was secret for 6 years. This is just an incredibly, it's not just censorship from Facebook, but your entire press. It's the first time in the history of America a crime victim offered a reward to identify police, and not a news story in the nation to this day. Doctors getting caught faking x-rays and charging the insurance company. That's medical fraud. And nothing has happened. Nothing's changed. You can bet they're doing it every day. That only makes sense. Well, this guy, he goes, picture is blurred. Well, I knew it was blurred, and I said, yeah, well, you have to click see photo to uncover it, unblur it, and And then he writes back and goes, the option to unblur it isn't even there. And I'm like, what? It tells me it is. And so I took a print screen and I clicked on it and I took a print screen and it told me, Facebook did, this photo was automatically covered so people can decide if they want to see it, you know? And I showed him the print screen of what I was seeing. And he takes a print screen and says, I don't have that option. This is what he showed. He don't get the option. So Facebook was tricking me. They were letting me think that people could click on the button and see the photo when that's not what could happen. Okay, do you see that? And that's what you call shadow banning. You know, that's where they're banning it because, and what's the real reason? As far as I'm concerned, what they're really trying to do is they want to cover up these crimes specifically. Like I said, I see car wrecks, gunshots, you know. I mean, how about the kid that shot the, I can't remember his name. It's in the news. You know, shot the people. You know, shot half the guy's arm off. You know, everybody's seen them photos. But my foot from 2 weeks, 17 days after I'm shot, Facebook blurs it. But they don't blur the photo of the arm of that guy. You know, and that's what I'm saying is the inconsistency and it's selective censorship. Okay, so anyway, that was really the first story. The other thing I want to show you here is I have a YouTube video here called Dr. Glass's Wife, okay? And maybe that was a bad name at the time, but basically this is the video that shows the proof of the medical crimes. And they've been compared to Joseph Mengele, Dr. Mengele of Nazi Germany that you know, was accused of horrific medical crimes. And that's what I compare these to. These are literal monsters, what they did to me, you know, at the hospital to cover up this premeditated capital attempted murder, home invasion that was going to make the sister-in-law of a doctor up there very wealthy, my ex-wife, okay? And so I want to move on to my next story, okay, is here. This just happened a few minutes ago, okay? Burglars inside an apartment and they can't figure out how they got in there, okay? And so here, I'm just going to play this little video.
And stuck my head up there and I noticed that the entire...
Let's start from the beginning.
Apartment 363, February, hour back. She was informed by the maintenance worker that unknown subjects are inside this vacant apartment. They don't know how the subjects got inside. The maintenance went to go check on the apartment and the subject locked the door from the inside.
Back in 2010, and this was around the time of the oil show party when my friend Angie McGee Hurley told me about the young girl being murdered there who refused to prostitute, is believed to be in underground homes. Well, anyways, I was reporting people in the attic. She lived in an apartment that's real close to my house here by the Home Depot in Midland, and so I checked her ceiling as there was an entrance up into the attic there, and I pushed the little piece of sheetrock up and stuck my head up there, and I noticed that the entire attic for all the apartments was common space. That means the person next door could just push open their little entrance, they could climb over, and they could enter into her apartment, and they would never be seen. And maybe that's what's going on here, because it sounds like them people got inside that apartment, and they don't know how they got in there.
Okay, and so I go to post this in one of the groups that actually I was booted from, and I just was added back to, and it's a Midland Odessa police scanner group. And amazingly enough is that I got this message when I went to post that video within the last hour. This is recent, okay? You can't post in groups right now. To prevent any more misuse, we temporarily restricted your account. Okay, disagree, agree, okay? And so... And I disagreed with it. I have never got any message. I haven't got any message. I have no idea why my account's restricted. Nothing. All of a sudden, I can't post in groups and for whatever known reason. And I really haven't done a lot of posting in groups anyway because, you know, I've been booted out of groups because of this just massive censorship to cover up for these criminals that are rigging homes and killing homeowners. And here, you know, it don't matter how much proof you got. Just like that, I mean, y'all have to agree how important that is, that story of these apartments having a shared attic space. Okay, so somebody's in an apartment, they don't know how they get in. I'm going, hey, I bet you what happened is the next door neighbor or two or three neighbors down, they just climbed up and they went over and they climbed down in there and ain't nobody saw them. You know, they can do anything they want in there, you know, rape, murder, kill, whatever. Oh, nobody entered that home, you know, and then, you know, and that's what I'm trying to say. And, you know, and I'm being restricted. This was a Facebook restriction from today. Okay. There's my second example. Okay, I'm gonna do another one last night between the debate, and I'm sure most of us watched the debate, and you know, and everybody should, you know, vote for whoever you feel is you know, the best candidate. It's our country, and but you know, and what I've already been caught in the middle on this, and the reason I say that is because see, Obama and Biden were president, vice president when I was ambushed and shot, and I contacted Obama. You know, I had evidence, proof of this murder attempt, and nothing happened. And then Trump gets elected, and I voted for him because I wanted to see him drain the swamp, and nothing changed, nothing happened. Day after day after day, crimes are committed against me, slander spread, my life is threatened, people are breaking them home, but all the time I'm finding more evidence. It's going on all over the place, you know. I mean, I'm continually gaining more evidence, you know. And so here I've got both sides. Who would I vote for, you know? But then this, you know, these stories of this pedophile stuff comes out with the Hunter doing the cocaine and making deals with his dad, the big guy, you know, and getting paid to sell out America and all that. And you know, and I'm just like, you know, I mean, I've got to pick one of them. I haven't voted yet, but I'm like, I get, you know, here I vote for Trump. I'm worried that I'm going to be living under the threat of death for another 4 years because I can't seem to find anybody has any integrity, you know, that's trying to stop the crime in America. But I just, you know, with a good heart, I can't vote for Biden, you know, and so anyways. On with that. That was you know, I respect your opinion. You can have your own opinion or whatever. And so here, I've got this. I want to show you what happened. Here's the famous photo that come from Hunter Biden's laptop, right? Okay. And what it was showing here is, you know, here he's naked and snorting cocaine off this naked little girl. And people go, how do you know a little girl? And I go, well, his wrist is the same size as her calf, you know? And then, you know, of course, there's other reports that he had underage children, pictures of naked underage children, or even pictures of his own niece that were naked. He was FaceTiming his own niece naked and all that. And so, you know, that's the assumption. But I do agree. We don't know how old this little girl is, you know, and we need to know. We need to know who she is. We need to know what elementary school she goes to. You know, I mean, this guy's dad's running for president, right? But Facebook blocked my post. Okay, here we go again. And, you know, I don't think this one was personal to Buddy. I think this one, that, you know, I really think that they're biased and they're trying to swing an election. I really think, you know, and maybe, you know, I've said before, you know, if you're trying to interfere in an election, you know, this ain't Russia, this ain't China, this is Facebook. You're trying to interfere in an election, and you're one of the main news sources for the nation. You know, that, I mean, that's getting close to treason right there. You know, you think you'd want to stay biased on that, but they blocked it and said this goes against our community standards on sexual activity. And I thought, I didn't think about that. Okay, sexual activity, right? And so, you know, you're clicking these buttons with Facebook, and here, continue, see what the button is. We define sexual activity as things like that, explicit sexual intercourse. Well, it wasn't that, right? Because he was snorting cocaine off a naked little girl, okay? Or the one person's genitals are visible, and it wasn't that either. So it's implied sexual intercourse. Well, I'm going, that must be why they blocked it, because they believe that he was having sex with that little girl. Does that make sense, right? And there wasn't no stimulation of genitalias, anus, or uncovered female nipples or breasts, okay? And so the only thing it could be is Facebook is saying that Hunter Biden, it was implied sexual intercourse with this underage girl. Now, I mean, I think we can all agree to that, right? So I created a meme for Facebook, and I took their block message that they sent me, and I took their definition of sexual activity, because that's why they blocked it, right? Because they believe that Hunter, you know, it was implied sexual intercourse between Hunter Biden and this naked little girl, okay? And I think we agree that. And I wrote on there, Facebook said this picture of Hunter Biden snorting cocaine off that naked little girl implies sexual intercourse. And, you know, and you got to go, well, they're probably right. He probably did have sex with that little girl, you know? I mean, that's probably true. And you know, and here was another post I seen on my Facebook timeline lead. I don't even know who this guy is, but so Hunter Biden, who had an affair with the wife of his deceased brother Beau, now admits to doing naked FaceTimes and keeping sexually explicit photos of Beau's 14-year-old daughter, his own niece Natalie. This is one sick family, okay? And I thought, wow, you know, okay, that's pretty much confirms that underage stuff, you know, and you know, I mean, yeah, that should be national news. Well, here I posted that same picture like 3 times because people asked for it or whatever, and all in one day, and so I'm getting it blocked like that by Facebook. And during this time, here we go, the rules on nudity or sexual activity. Notice that it changed. As I mean, just within last night, as I'm creating that Facebook post showing that Facebook is implying that Hunter Biden was having sex with this young girl, right? They changed it. You know, now it shows nudity showing genitals, sexual activity, female nipples, sexually explicit language, okay? And so now you get, you know, as I was posting on Facebook last night, Facebook was changing their block rules, right? Isn't that amazing? I mean, you know, that happened last night. Okay, this morning I woke up, and that's what I was saying. I posted that same picture 3 times, right? And they went and, you know, their little computer thing blocked it 3 different times, you know, account warning, this because you previously didn't follow the community standards. Well, you know, of course, I'd already posted it 3 times before I ever got any message from them or whatever, you know. And we understand mistakes happen, so we didn't restrict your account. And keep in mind, you know, what it all comes back down to. There's no genitalia that was showed. That's why I thought it was fine. Right? I thought, well, you know, we're not, you know, it didn't show, the genitalia, no boobs. There was none of that, you know, and so I didn't think it crossed the line, but you know what? The rule was that it implied sexual activity. So Facebook determined that Hunter Biden was having sex with that little girl, and you know, and I hadn't thought about that, you know. And then this was come out of the debate last night on the comments about the basement, and I thought that was so strange. I really don't understand where that basement stuff come from, and even I wonder if they're talking about my basement, you know. And and I say basement, the underground homes here, where they have the old show parties and the pedophile parties, and they rape and murder the little girls who want to prostitute and kill the last homeowner and try to kill me, etc. You know. But anyway, coming out of all this recent news about Hunter Biden, China, and his talking about the big guy gets 10%, and it's easy to see the big guy is his dad, right? And and there's I guess his business partner come out and said that they were told to never use Joe Biden's name, and so they use code words with him like the big guy, and so somebody put this joke picture or whatever of the big guy coming out of a basement, you know what I mean? And seeing, he's seen his shadow, so there'll be 4 more years. Okay, so that's enough on that censorship story right there. And then I want to go to the last one here. And this is a super sad story here, okay? Here they are. This is a soccer team here in Midland. And I'm just going to read it to you. This was a 15-year-old Midland girl that was raped and murdered, and nobody has been arrested. That happened this week. If it's the same people that murdered the young girl at the underground old show party, then I feel sure they'll never arrest them, and it doesn't how much evidence is found. I mean, I think we can all agree to that, because plenty of evidence here. And I followed that up here. I said, my friend Angie Munguia Hurley told me about a young girl that was raped and murdered at a party going on during the 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show because she didn't want to prostitute, and it's believed that happened in the underground homes that many people have said was near my home, including recent candidate for sheriff Joe Lozano. So I recorded him. She was afraid to report this murder because high-level police were at the party. In 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old girl was found outside of Midland who is believed to be the same girl. As you'll see in this video, there are plenty of solid leads for police to follow up on and stop these killers, but it looks like they've chosen to allow them to remain free. And I'm talking about law enforcement, public officials, etc. Maybe they're the ones who raped and murdered this girl too, the same ones that killed that 15-year-old. Maybe they're the ones who tried to murder me. Maybe they're the ones who murdered the last homeowner, Mike Lawn. The blatant lawlessness going on here in Midland, Texas, the hometown of George Bush, is just shameful, okay? And the video that I put in there was called forced prostitution murder. This is about the murder of the young girl at the 2010 oil show party. And if you hadn't seen it, it's on my YouTube channel, And so this guy, I don't even know this guy. He's not on my friends list. He writes, with all due respect, you have been disinformed. Please delete your post out of respect for this family. Thank you. Okay. And so I don't know where I was disinformed at, because my news, my information came from the press, right? I mean, it's public information, and I posted links to it at the bottom. But here was my reply, and he was respectful, and I respect that, And I said, this wasn't my video. It wasn't the soccer one, and I just shared it on Facebook. But I will say this is a violent crime that was reported in the news with my statement of this was a 15-year-old Midland girl that had been raped and murdered and nobody's been arrested. If it's the same people that murdered the young girl at the old show party, then I feel sure they'll never arrest them, and it doesn't matter how much evidence found. I just quoted myself, right, to go no. And I believe that to be 100% true. And in no way it disrespects the family, and in fact may provide leads to the violent criminals who hurt her, who raped and murdered her. On the other hand, it also provides attention to the young girl that Angie Mungia Hurley said was murdered at the 2010 oil show party, believed to be the girl whose remains were found in 2013. And she also has not gotten any justice. Nobody has been arrested. And I put a link to Unsolved Crimes, Midland Crime Stoppers. Okay. And you'll see here, in 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old girl was found outside of Midland. Okay, and homicide is suspected, and that wasn't too long after Angie had told me about the young girl murdered at the oil show party, believed to happen in underground homes near my home. Multiple people said was here. Okay. And so then I just followed that up. I believe this video here, this one contains links which could have led to the arrest of the violent criminals who murdered that young girl at the 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show, and yet that hasn't happened. That is why I stated, if it's the same people murdered her, then I feel sure they'll never be arrested. And it doesn't matter how much evidence. It don't matter if I find a dozen people reporting people in the attic. It don't matter if I find ballistic evidence proving I wasn't shot with my gun. It doesn't matter if I save money up and pay to have secret police identified. It doesn't matter. The evidence doesn't matter. The press is censoring the news, so the public doesn't know the facts, and they're breaking in homes all over the place and killing people. I mean, that's what's going on. I believe that to be 100% factual, and I refuse to remove my Facebook post for some stranger trying to censor, there's the word censor, what I post on Facebook about crimes in our area. As I started this video, I said censorship is the greatest tool of these criminals. They don't want the public seeing the facts. Okay, so here's another video I made called the 2010 oil show party murder, and there are leads in there, I believe, that could have solved that murder a long time ago, could have exposed these underground homes before Homeland and them guys poured concrete in the tunnels, and I don't know if Homeland did it. I just know it happened 2 weeks after I showed Homeland Security where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnels were going to the underground homes. That's another story. Okay, and then here, one more post. This is the news story which said, Midland, Texas, update, family members tell CBS that the 15-year-old Midland high school student has died after she was beaten and sexually assaulted earlier this week. I copied and pasted that. That was in the press. That was the news. It's inconceivable that my Facebook post, which contained a reference to another young girl that I believed to have been raped and murdered in Midland, is disrespectful to the family. In fact, that could be a solid lead into those that hurt their loved one, the 15-year-old. Okay, and I put a link to the news story because this guy's trying to get me. He needs to contact CBS 7, you know what I mean? Have them go, oh, you need to remove that, that's disrespectful to the family, you need to stop that, but no, he's trying to stop me from posting it. Another thought was this young girl's killers was connected to the disappearance of these two young women, and so this is a recent video called Missing from Midland. You ought to see that. And these two women, they come in from out of town and they were never seen again and suspected being connected with the human traffickers here, and it's the human traffickers suspected of killing the little girl at the oil show party. Okay? And that's a good video if you hadn't seen it. In 2018, the remains of 2 young people were found outside of Midland, buried very deep. I've wondered if those murders were connected with this crime ring believed to be involved in the underground sex parties where forced prostitution was said to be happening. Maybe they wasn't given a choice. You either prostitute or you die. And who are you going to call? The press or the police? Ha ha! Who are you going to call, little girl? We got police at the party where she was murdered at. And I laugh, and I'm being facetious because it angers you to see this massive corruption where they're murdering little girls, and it doesn't matter how much evidence you have, and nothing changes, and their greatest tool is this censorship. Here's a link to this story about these 2 kids that were murdered, and they're both teenagers and this sheriff here was Painter. He's the one that said to be hanging out in the underground parties. Nobody ever said who told them to go dig this 20-foot deep hole out there at that tree farm. And I tell you what happened. They went missing in 2015. And 2015 was the same time that Secret Police Naylor died. A couple months later, Secret Police Simpson died. That was the same time that the suspected tunnel entrances were removed in the neighbor's backyard behind, but the next to the 2 side-by-side manholes, the missing tree was taken out. And I even suggested, I think I wrote Sheriff Painter, and I said, hey, maybe the same equipment that used to bury these kids was used to take out that tree out there behind my house. Maybe these kids were people that were getting in the attic. And so that's a story I haven't really posted on YouTube before. You can look how deep this is, and that's when people go, oh, you need to dig. Imagine 25 foot. This is huge. They buried them deep. They never planned them 2 kids to be found. And they may be also connected to the same crime ring here in Midland that has the assistance of press and corrupt police to help them. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.